Sierra doesn't usually eat nachos like that. When she crushed those nachos, I knew for that moment.
We crushed the nachos.
Okay, we crushed the nachos.
We crushed the nachos.
Yeah.
Hey foodies, I'm Sierra.
I'm GT.
And this is Food is Universal. Today we're going to be talking to you about another restaurant that we feel like doesn't get enough love. We don't typically see a lot of people talking about it. We don't see a lot of people kind of suggesting it, but it's well worth the visit. And this restaurant is actually Pat O'Brien's at Universal Citywalk.
Yeah, Pat O'Brien's is a really cool spot. It's, Cajun food. It's based off the location that's in New Orleans. We just had a trip from New Orleans, actually. So we really felt like we could have some insight into what their offerings are based on what our experience were.
So like we said, Pat O'Brien's is also located at Universal Citywalk, nestled in the same area as Bob Marley's and Red Coconut Club. So again, it's kind of easy to miss, especially since it's like not as noticeable as Bob Marley's, because the only thing that you see when you walk in is really the sign.
So Pat O'Brien's is an authentic replica of the location in New Orleans, based on Universal's own words. You go to the restaurant, you walk up, and the facade is very much like the buildings that are in the French Quarter and on Bourbon Street. When we went down to New Orleans, we saw a lot of these buildings. We were instantly like, wow, this is very much, what they did in Universal is very much true to, what they have going on in the French Quarter.
So we actually went to the Pat O'Brien's in Orlando first, before we went to, heard or saw about the original location down in New Orleans. Like JT said, we did actually just go to New Orleans, this past weekend. And that was a very interesting experience. But just knowing that the original location is in Pat O'Brien's is very much on par with the theming that Universal continuously, succeeds with. So we just trust that it's an exact replica. So let's talk about the ambiance first. So when you walk in, it is in fact very loud because of the dueling pianos. They have outdoor seating and they have indoor seating. During the time that we went and sat indoors, and we had the privilege of being sat pretty much right in front of the dueling pianos. And so with that being said, generally the whole restaurant is typically pretty loud because of the dueling pianos, but even more so if you are sitting up front. So although, JT and I were able to see things like with a clear line of view, it was difficult for us to talk amongst each other and just hear myself think. And even talk to the waitress. The waitress had to kind of bend down and hear us. So just keep that in mind. But it doesn't take away from the experience. We thought, this is what this is, and so we'll just adapt accordingly. It didn't turn us off in any way. We didn't get angry or anything. But if you are looking for a more intimate or quiet restaurant, this one may not be for you. Also,
the restaurant is faithfully decorated to that of, a bar in New Orleans. It has lots of pictures of the city, very colorful string lights. And then you also have, the most peculiar thing for me was the fact that they had beer steins, German beer steins hung up on the ceiling. They're all over the ceiling. And they're very intricate, very detailed, beautifully crafted.
They're very eye-catching and just a nice little quirky addition to the restaurant that makes it pretty unique and nice. So let's talk about food. Overall, our food experience was pretty good. We would definitely go back. When we talk about the drinks and the food options, they are very plentiful, like JT said. They mimic traditional Cajun cuisine, which is a mix of French and African cooking techniques and spices. And so a lot of the food options on the menu are going to be, just like that. So the gumbos, the jambalayas, the shrimp and grits,
crawfish etouffee,
and things of that sort. So We would say that if you don't particularly favor this kind of cuisine, this restaurant might not be for you. But if you've never had it and you're open to it, or you have had it and you like that kind of food, this would be the perfect place for you. Do keep in mind that although we didn't really think our food was spicy, food that is traditionally Cajun and Creole tends to be a little bit on the spicier side. So if you are not one that likes spicier foods, you might not like this restaurant also. So we ordered the shrimp and grits. JT had the shrimp and grits, and I ordered the jambalaya. And to be honest, the shrimp and grits were phenomenal.
Yeah, it was amazing. The shrimp and grits were absolutely delicious. Like, the grits were like nice, and like they had like a little bit of cheese in them, so it was like nice and kind of like just a little slight. It wasn't super cheesy, it wasn't like cheese pull or anything, but it was just like a nice bit of cheese in there just for flavor. And then the sauce around this really took it away from me. Like, the sauce was like this lemony, buttery kind of thing going on. I don't know what exactly is in it, but it is absolutely delicious. And like, it basically made the dish for me. Like, when you have the shrimp and then the grits, and then you take a little bit of the sauce, it just everything just melts together so beautifully. So I was a big fan of that. I would definitely get it again.
Yeah, and I definitely found myself eating off JT's plate, and JT isn't a huge fan when I do that, but if I really like something on his plate, like, I honestly can't help myself. On the other hand, like I said, I had the jambalaya, and I honestly feel like it missed the mark. And I think what it was that it wasn't as coherent of a dish. The flavors weren't really coming through for me, and just the texture was the main thing that really put me off. It was very mushy, and it just didn't taste great. Personally, wouldn't recommend that dish. And honestly, even when I sent it back, the waitress kind of understood. So I think that this is like a common thing that, you know, for people that order the jambalaya, like, have issue with. Don't get the jambalaya, but do try the shrimp and grits.
And we almost forgot to mention the appetizer, which actually might be our favorite thing on the menu.
How did we forget the appetizer? The appetizer that we got was actually like this blackened chicken, like just nachos, right? Mm-hmm. And I know you're like, nachos, right? But no, like these nachos were honestly the best nachos that we've had ever. Yeah. And we don't know what it was, because it was just like it might have been the chicken, but there was like this cheese sauce that was like really great. I think it was like
Cajun cheese sauce.
Yeah, was it a Cajun cheese sauce?
It was like it had like spices in the cheese. I could taste a little bit, something going on.
Yeah, so the cheese sauce, marvelous. And everything with that nacho just came together. Like, and we didn't expect to like love it as much as we did, because when we first got to the restaurant, we were hungry. And we were just, let's just get an appetizer. And you know, we're not expecting to like finish the whole thing, but like one minute we like looked up and like the whole thing was gone. And we're just like, wow.
And Sierra doesn't usually eat nachos like that. When she crushed those nachos, I knew for that moment.
We crushed the nachos.
Okay, we crushed the nachos.
We crushed the nachos.
Yeah.
Nachos, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Thank us later. Let's pivot a little bit and talk about the drinks, because the drinks are actually also a very important part of the experience of the restaurant. Considering the fact that, you know, like, it's mimicked after, you know, like the experience on Bourbon Street. And so quite naturally, you know, like, alcohol and alcoholic beverages are a large part of the menu. And so, like JT was saying earlier, they have their Pat O'Brien's Hurricane. And a lot of the other drinks are pretty much mimicking the same thing, where it's just like a large, like, there's like a very popular like rum presence in New Orleans. And so a lot of the drinks options are like rum based. But they do have other alcoholic beverages with like tequila and vodka So we actually didn't get the Hurricane, but we did get 2 vodka-based drinks, the Typhoon and the Fuzzy Leprechaun. And both were very sweet.
Very sweet.
That's something, you know, as a flag for folks that enjoy, you know, the occasional adult beverage. A lot of these cocktails are very sweet in nature. And we can also say the drinks that we even had in New Orleans were pretty sweet, honestly. So, you know, if you're not one to like really sweet cocktails, you know, go ahead and order your go-to cocktail. Or, you know, you can let the waitress know that you're trying to cut back on sugar and maybe have some tweaks done to your drink, maybe like less juice, or see if they have like a skinny version that they can do for you. But they are just very sweet. I like my drinks to be sweet, so I had no problem. JT isn't like a huge fan of like really sweet drinks, so he gets kind of turned off. But they were both good, so
they were both pretty good drinks. Like I had the Fuzzy Leprechaun. I did enjoy it. It was, you know, I like pineapple juice, and that one had pineapple juice in it, so I'm kind of a sucker. If you got pineapple juice in your drink, I'm gonna try it. You know, it's simple.
And then lastly, let's talk about this dessert that we had. So on the menu, they have a couple of options. Beignets and bread pudding were the main ones that I remember. So, you know, naturally we're trying to like follow the experience, and we're just like, let's get beignets.
I think we actually wanted to get the bread pudding at first.
We did want to get the bread pudding at first.
But they were out of the bread pudding.
No, they weren't out.
I
so we did want to get the bread pudding at first because I am a sucker for bread pudding. But the waitress was so kind to like be transparent and let us know. Well, I'm really weird. Like, I'm really particular about my bread puddings, and I feel like when you make bread pudding, the type of bread that you use matters. So when I asked the waitress what kind of bread they use, she was very honest and transparent and let me know that they just use like hot dog buns. And yeah, hot dog buns. Very, very interesting choice. I can see why they would do that. You know, maybe like cut down costs. It's like cheap, whatever. But when I heard that, it just kind of turned me off. So I was just like, well, what about the beignets? Are the beignets made with hot dog buns as well? And, you know, they let me know that they weren't. So I went with the beignets, and, you know, I was just like, you know, we're at this New Orleans kind of influenced restaurant. Let's go traditional. So we did the beignets. And, you know, when we had them, we didn't love them. We didn't hate them. But now, because we have an authentic beignet experience, when we went down to New Orleans, we can definitely say that they are not up to par to what they should be.
I don't think it's even close. One is like this very soft and like airy dough, and it's like it's not even like a donut. It's not heavy like a donut. It's just this perfectly fried and airy pastry, and you have powdered sugar on it. But these were more, to be frank, they kind of reminded me of hot dog buns, even though they weren't. They were more like a bready kind of texture. Not really beignet, not really reminiscent of beignets to me, especially, you know, thinking back on it, not really reminiscent of beignets at all. So, with that being said, if you want a beignet, you're just gonna have to go to New Orleans to get the best beignets, of course.
If you just want fried bread with powdered sugar, these are for you.
Yes.
Yes. That was our food and drink experience. Again, we would definitely go back to this place, especially for the shrimp and grits. I personally would probably try another entree. And then, you know, like the dueling piano situation was really
excellent.
Yeah, like it was really fun. They take requests. They're very interactive with the audience. The audience is really interactive with them. And so it just created like this very fun and entertaining atmosphere. That's a really excellent addition to Citywalk. And then the theme parks in general.
Yeah, I would definitely go back even just for the energy in the space, like I really enjoyed it. I was singing along to good more than a handful of the songs. I knew a lot of the songs they were playing. Like I said, you can, like Sierra said, you can put in requests. But it's really fun atmosphere. Food's pretty good. We haven't had everything on menu yet, but we're hoping to go back and try more things.
So let's kind of like do like a short recap, and kind of outline like who this restaurant would be perfect for and who this restaurant might not be perfect for. So you can make an informed decision on whether or not you want to add it to your list of restaurants that you go to next time you go to Citywalk. So I would say that this restaurant is perfect for groups.
Definitely.
Perfect for groups, people that are just kind of like looking for like a good time, and don't mind like the louder atmosphere. It could also be a really good date night. You know, again, if you don't mind like the loud background and you're just looking for something fun and like some live entertainment, could be a good day night if you're looking for that kind of experience. This restaurant would also be good for folks who love trying like different types of cuisine, because again, this is like Cajun, like / Creole cuisine, which is different than your traditional theme park options and food. So that's really refreshing. You know, if you're looking for something new and, you know, different. This restaurant probably won't be the perfect place for you if, you know, you're with a family, and especially if you have like little ones in your group that don't like loud noises, or, you know, get really restless. We actually were sitting behind the table with like a cute little kid. They were having a great time, you know, just kind of like vibing to the music.
I mean, if your kid really loves like live music, because some kids really do love live music, so it could be for you. Some kids, you know your kid better. So, like, if your kid just like likes to dance and have a good time and listen to music, like they'll love it. They'll love the energy there. So.
It's very fun. And so with that said, you know, even just aside from kids, if you personally aren't really like a huge fan of like loud spaces and loud music and just like loud talking people, this wouldn't be the perfect space for you, because things are loud. And I don't think there's like, they open pretty late in the day. They open around like 4 o'clock. And so it's a very short time frame, honestly, from the time that they open until things start kicking off. So it's just like, I wouldn't even suggest getting there earlier. You know, it starts getting loud, honestly, as soon as it opens. Because if it's not like the dueling pianos, then it's, you know, folks talking really loudly at the bar. Other than that, honestly, I feel like no matter who you are, you can probably find something like a good experience out of it. And it's definitely worth a try. Like, you know, just try everything once, you know, like Universal Citywalk has so many different restaurants, you know, they're all worth giving a try. But we want you to also make the most informed decision that's best for you or your family, and just, you know, feel things out. And with that, I'm Sierra.
I'm JT.
And remember, food is universal. Bye.
Bye.